And I did a fight crime in Manchester, not getting a warm reception last night. Member of the board of directors suggesting that a curfew might stop a rash of car break-ins. News 8's Ken Pierce live in News 8 Control this morning to tell us how the public reacted to it. Good morning, Ken.
Good morning to you, Keith. Yeah, the public did not react well to this. Several members of the public spoke out against the idea of a curfew. Even the police chief said he did not think it would work. It was brought up in last night's board of directors meeting because there have been a bunch of car break-ins recently. One member of the board thought the solution would be to ban anyone under 18 from being out on foot, on a bike, in a car between the hours of midnight and 5 a.m. Here's how it would work. If police saw any teens out on the streets in the overnight hours, they would first give them a warning and tell them to go home. If they saw them again, then it could result in a fine. Some of the people speaking out brought up the idea that this was discriminatory, not just to people of a certain age, but also it would likely be people of certain races who would be targeted.
It is the epitome of discrimination. Definition: the unjust or prejudicial treatment of people, especially on the grounds of race, age, or sex.
I don't believe a curfew would be effective. I thank the board for bringing this topic up. I'm not certain that curfew is the proper way to go.
Now, that last person was the town's police chief, saying he did not think the curfew was the way to go. The mayor says he is also against this. The proposal does have exceptions for teens who work early or late hours, but as one online post put this, they said, are we going to start asking people for their papers? Well, there are calls for parents to be held more accountable for what their children are doing. It was pretty clear after that meeting there that the curfew idea does not have much support, and at this point it's not even clear if the board of directors is going to bother to vote on it. Live in News 8 Control, I'm Ken Pierce.